Welcome to HomeFront Sitrep. I hope you're in for a great show today because I'm just a veteran talking about what's on my mind and maybe yours.
You can find HomeFront Sitrep on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. You can also check out HomeFront Sitrep's YouTube channel.
Buckle up, the show is starting. Welcome, everybody, to a Sunday edition of HomeFront Sitrep. How is everybody doing? Gunny, how are you doing, sir?
Doing well, man. Recovering from a good weekend and some crappie fishing. And we went and did the Festival of the Horse Parade. And we got just over halfway through before that big storm just dumped on us, man. And I was drenched. I mean, I could have jumped in the Ohio River and not been as wet as I was, when the storm went by.
I seen your videos where you were walking in, and I was like, "Holy cow, man!"
Yeah, and that wasn't even the hardest part, man. It was like letting up by then.
Gotta love it. Gotta love it. So we're entering week 4 of the strike with my union and the company. And still, I don't know how much movement is on the forefront of that, but hopefully they'll get some things figured out and we can get back to work for too long, because the wife is starting to get grouchy because I'm not at work. So
yeah, I hear that. I know exactly how that is. We have our off season doesn't hit till December, and by the time February hits, April's like, you got to go.
Yeah, it's like you need to get back to work.
Something for you to do.
But I do got some exciting news for all of our listeners out there. I did get my first rating, so I did one. Broke that ice, got that 10% right for my tetanitis and stuff, and I got some other CMP exams scheduled, and got to follow up on some other things as well. So I'm super excited about that, and the wife is a little excited about that as well. So much needed in the time.
Man, that's where it starts, right there.
Yeah, it was much needed, because hell, I've been off work for going on 4 weeks, and I was getting $100 a day for the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 weeks, and then it went down to $300 a week. And I make a lot more money than that. So it's a struggle bus right now, but we're getting there. So just gotta, the man upstairs, he's leading in charge, and he's going to definitely take control and put us in places that I need to be, or we need to be as a family. And so just got to let him take the wheel and him guide us.
And then, you're going to get frustrated. You're going to want to give up. Just don't give up, man. I did, I left the Marine Corps with 70% from the VA. The day I retired from the Marine Corps, they're like, okay, I knew already what I was going to have because of the medical evaluation board process. And as I'm reading this, I'm seeing what they rated me for, what they didn't rate me for. And I fought and fought and fought. I fought for 2 years, got Senator McConnell's office involved, and it got me to 80. And I fought some more, and I was done. I was completely just drained mentally. And, it wears you down. And then I got a VSO from Ohio involved years later and got moved to 90. And, still going through surgery, still having procedures, still having issues that stemmed from being blown up in Iraq. And then when the PACT Act stuff came out, I filed my stuff, and luckily my civilian doctor that I see every time I went in for sinusitis or anything like that, it was already documented. Yeah, it sat there, I think 6 months, 7 months, And next thing I know, boom, 100%. I hit that last December, total and permanent. So I'm done fighting. Thank God, I'm done fighting.
Yeah.
It's a huge relief on me. It's a huge relief for the family. And if it would have been for my wife, I would have given up on the VA back when I got to 80%.
Yeah.
Even with having surgery after surgery after surgery, or hospital stay after hospital stay.
I wish I had listened.
Candace isn't here this weekend, and I was so excited when I got the invite. I brought my crayons, man.
You brought your crayons?
I brought my crayons for Candace.
Nice.
It
Nice.
says snack time on the back. Which way am I going? I hate this mirror effect here.
Hell yeah.
Snack time going on there. And then I understand she's out celebrating the birthday. So, take that time off, Candace. You will be missed during this episode for sure. And can't wait to have you back on and see you back.
Oh yeah. No, I wish I had listened to my wife 20 years ago when she said, hey, you need to start filing for the VA. But I didn't. I was dumb. I was one of the dumb ones and said, oh, somebody else needs it more than I do. So if you're one of those people out there and you think somebody else deserves it better than you do, then it's a wrong mindset. You need to come talk to me offline, because I will tell you, everybody deserves it. You signed your name on that dotted line. You deserve it just as much as I do, or Sam does, or one of our two guests that we got coming up, which we got two great guests coming up. We got Mr. Stephen Russell, who's the author of Tales of Nihilism. And then also he's got a book out as well. But he wants to come on, and we're going to talk to him about Veteran Comic-Con. So let's bring him up real quick. What's up, Stephen?
Hey, how's it going, David? How's it going, Sam?
Right, well, how are you?
Doing all right.
How's everything in the Northeast?
Well, it finally got cool today. So, all that heat that was coming up here that I was trying to escape, leaving Texas, followed me this summer.
Right.
Yeah.
It's definitely been unusually hot this summer. That's for sure. So
yeah.
What do you got coming up, my friend?
Yeah. So you're talking about, the Veteran Comic-Con that's going to be going down in San Francisco in November, Veterans Day weekend. I think it's Sunday the 10th, if I remember correctly.
Oh, so it's on the Marine Corps birthday.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah. And it's they've got a nice little situation out there where, any veteran artist or entertainer, you don't have to pay a table fee for that. So you just show up, have your stuff, and, they're promoting veteran artists and independent creators out there.
Very cool.
So I just posted a link for Veteran Comic-Con right here in the chat. It's up on the screen as well. So let's say like HomeFront Sitrep decided to go to Veteran Comic-Con and we wanted to set up out there. We wouldn't have to pay for a table or anything like that?
Yeah. As long as you're, the organization is veteran owned, you don't have to pay a table fee on that, which is a huge thing, with a lot of these conventions. Even the smaller ones, you can look at 75 to over $100 for just the table fee alone. And then all your setup and everything else that's going on top of that. So yeah, that's a huge deal there.
Yeah, if you need electricity, if you want a table and don't bring it with you, if you want chairs, if they require you to have a carpeted area, man, the price adds up. I mean,
absolutely.
I work with a professional skydive team, and we do a couple conferences a year, and it adds up. I completely understand. Fees when it comes to some of those places, especially like California. I don't know if they are, like Vegas is all union ran, but if you use the docks, you're not allowed to touch your own gear. So now you have to pay the inload fee and then outload fee as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And, that's on top of like, is it going to be a, convention that's going to have enough, promotion around it that you can sell enough to, be like, okay with going there.
Right.
I've done about 4 of these now. We started last year at Plastic City Comic-Con, and that's where we, dipped our toes in the water. Excuse me. And, it's been mostly positive. And this is one that I'm really looking forward to, just, because of the ability to network with other veteran artists, speak to people, see what they're doing in the industry, and, trade notes, do all that fun stuff.
Heck yeah. Now, tell us a little bit more about your newest edition of Tales of Nihilism, because I know I just didn't you just post something here recently about it?
Yeah, so we posted up a short story. It's the Petal Dragon story that we've got going on. She's one of the characters that we have in our main series. So we run like a flagship, like a main series. Then we do short stories, and we do kind of like Sunday comic strips as well. We alternate those month after month on their release, and yeah, so we've started to deal more into where we're tying in our main story and having like offshoots on our side stories and stuff like that.
Nice, nice. Now you also offer veterans sponsorship packages as well, right? Within
Oh,
your
well, we don't offer, but we are looking, for sponsorship, and what we do offer is advertisement in the comics. So when we go to these conventions, we'll have print issues, and we offer like quarter page ads that your business can advertise in the comic and go with us to those conventions and sell to the local community and all that.
nice, nice. So now with this ad space, how long does it run, and what's the average price?
Yeah, so what we do is it's $100 for a quarter page ad, and you're getting 25 copies in one issue. So you're basically getting 25 ads for $100. And right now we have 3 issues that we've printed off, gone to print with. So we have 3 available. And then if we have more people that are interested, we have up to 8 main issues that we can utilize. Yeah.
Nice, nice. And has your book been released yet?
Yeah,
It has.
so my book, Troublemakers, the greatest dog and pony show in Iraq. That's about my deployment to Iraq, Bakuba, Iraq in 2006, 2007 during the surge, all that crazy stuff with 1st Cav Division. We were right there in the Diyala province where everything decided to go completely tits up and insane. So it's one of those where it's like, hey, this story, it needs to be told. People need to hear more about these things that went on over there. We spent a lot of time in the Middle East, and at the end of the day, people might be able to name off 1 or 2 major incidents that happened over there. But on a broader spectrum, if you ask anybody, like, okay, well, what did we do over there? What did we accomplish? 9 times out of 10, they can't tell you.
Yeah, they know the bad things that happened, right? They know the Abu Ghraibs, they know the Nazariyas, they know the Haditha dams. Well, I say bad. That
Yeah.
Abu Ghraib was bad. What happened there should never have happened, right? But the Haditha dam incident. You didn't know if that guy had a grenade or a pistol or anything underneath him, but some of the actions that happened shouldn't have happened either. So they know all that stuff, right? They don't know. There's a lot of life events. There's a lot of stories. I mean, my view of my deployment is going to be different than one of my Marines' views of that same deployment who stood right beside me. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of stuff coming there. My question is it on Audible? I got blown up twice in Iraq. I just reading, it just doesn't capture me anymore. No matter how exciting it is, no matter how engaging it is, I can't do it. So I travel a lot with the skydive team, whether I'm flying or driving, and Audible. I went through 2 books. I guess it was last week and 2 weekends ago. Mm-hmm. I went to North Carolina and back from where I live, and I knocked out 2 books.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a process, and this is the first time I've been published with an actual publisher, Blue Ear Books, and they deal with nonfiction, memoirs, and they have a whole veteran section with them as well. And those kind of things, when you're dealing with the company, you've got to look at all the cost and benefits and things like that. But it's something that they're always like, as soon as we can put the green light on, yeah, of course.
Yeah, get to a certain dollar value to offset and all that stuff, so you're not going into the into the red with your spendings and all that stuff. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. So currently it's not on audiobook currently.
Yeah, currently not. you can find it on Blue Ear Books or Amazon right now. And then we're about to we're working up trying to do a Barnes and Noble's release as well, because Barnes and Noble's, if you're a self-published author or even going through a publishing company, they're really good about they have regional control over their franchises. So all you have to do, if you print something off and you publish something, you go to the regional manager and say, hey, I'd like to do like a book signing or something like that, and they'll work with you in that capacity.
Nice. Do they help you promote it too, or is it all self-promotion?
Well, yeah, they'll help you promote it too. You got to go through their, put it up on the Barnes and Noble site and do all that kind of stuff. But yeah, as long as you're doing that, they'll work with you.
Very cool.
Nice. Well, Stephen, thank you for coming on here and talking about Comic-Con and your book and your comic strip, or your, I don't want to say comic strip because it's not really a comic strip, but Tales of Nihilism. And man, anytime you need anything, just give me a shout, brother. I appreciate you coming on here.
Absolutely, man. It was good talking to you both.
Yes, sir. Have a good one, buddy.
All right. Later.
Bye. All right. So you got Comic-Con out in San Francisco. So if you're out in the West Coast and you want to check out Comic-Con, the link is in chat. I will throw it back up on the screen here. There's a link to it there, so you can check it out there. Go check out Steven. His links are in chat as well. You can go check out Tales of Nihilism. It's a comic book. And then also his book, Troublemakers. Go check it out too as well. But I'm excited about the next guest. Let's see. Hey, you're welcome, Stephen. I'm definitely excited about this next guest. I better make sure I say her name correctly. Miss Angelica Kapsis. She is a Navy veteran. She is the co-founder of Votrite. She's the acting president. As of right now, she's the acting president of that. And she does all kinds of other little things too that we're going to get into. So let's bring her up to the stage. Welcome to the stage, Miss Angelica.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's our honor to have you on our show tonight. So do me a favor and tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, I graduated high school a year early, and I went to college, and I graduated before I was 21. So I was looking for something to do, and one of my friends, he was going to become a medic with the Navy because he really wanted the presidential detail. So long story short, I followed in his footsteps to get him meritoriously promoted so he could succeed, and he did. So I spent about 4 years in the Navy. After that, they paid for my master's degree, and the information we get once we're transitioning out of the military, as you all know so well, is for once, do something for you, do something you like. It's not about everybody else. So I got a master's in forensic science because that's the coolest thing I could think of at the time, but it's completely irrelevant. And what I did was this whole, the course I had, I was also a first responder. I was a firefighter for about a decade. And all of this gave me this really well-rounded approach for how to accommodate people, us. And then I started looking inward. I said, we're always looking outward. We're always going to other countries. I established my life. In the beginning, I was going to be a doctor. I was so sure of it. And I was going to do humanitarian efforts everywhere else. And of course, my trajectory changed. So I'm looking at America and I'm going, well, what about us? We're really diverse, so we better learn about one another and everybody else. So my trajectory sort of brought me to this goal here, and I co-founded it with my father. And throughout this time, over a decade, he's been revamping this software. He had these mega systems. Back when they had those pull-down levers, he invented one of the first electronic systems, and it would sit on the floor nearly, and it was like huge, and it was this baby blue color. It was so cool.
Yep. And
he's adapted it from there. He just kept going. He even had a competition with Microsoft way back when, and he won popularity like way back when, So he's been following, and Votrite is this cumulative success of looking around at everybody else and really paying attention. And what we've had with our democracy and our election process recently is a lot of people that come in and they establish themselves as vendors, and the money came from who knows where. And we didn't hear them market. We didn't see how they were raised. We don't know much about them. And then we had some fallout. We had, what we considered a compromised election more than once. So Votrite's intention is to provide that solution. And I can say, as the president, I can absolutely accomplish that task. So I'd love to share more with you about, what we offer and how that is.
Absolutely. Yeah, I saw a little bit. You got some encryption going on and different levels and it being
Yes.
secured and, the mobile piece of it and, two factor logins. And I mean, I'm not a techie by
We
any
go
means.
in, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, we go really deep. So I'll give you a run through of a couple of those customized, ordered off the menu sort of deals that we provide for our country now. And what it is that really sets us apart is we're going to stay current with Votrite's. It's an LT 2100 Titan system, we call it. And it's an all-in-one, about 15-pounder. It's accessible for everybody. So you don't need a separate polling station and you're not going to lug around these 100, 200, pound units on a roller. Furthermore, because it's a direct reporting electronic system, which only means that the user inputs the information directly, which is trustworthy, honestly.
Right.
We're going to add a voter verified paper trail with that. So it's going to allow for us to remain at the top as the superpower, which I think is really important. I've noticed that I've been looking around the country and beginning in the middle states, they started going backwards after this past election and they wrote into law without even looking around, let's do paper only.
Yeah.
And from our perspective, after 15 years of studying, learning and implementing, that's not the best course. The best course would be to stay as current as anybody, as a near peer, as an ally, and in addition, have a verifiable method, so that we can have uncontested results. And the way that we do that is we have the electronic tally immediately, and we have a voter verified, the voter staring at the hand ballot. It looks identical. It's an exact template on the review page as the printout, and they're watching it chop, or they're watching it void, and it leaves this chain so that we can see exactly what happens. The redundant memory component, which you're thinking about all these security aspects, redundant memory simply means more than one, right? It's over and over. So what we do is we house the data in the application, the software itself, and in there allows for an electronic audit, which we can spot check according to randomly generated ID numbers, no PII involved, nothing compromising, but we can check with 100% accuracy, line by line, that what was tallied was exactly what was voted, compared to what we're paying for now with these vendors that we have, where they're taking the information. Some of the time it's partially electronic and you can print out your ballot. Other time you're marking it and then you're bringing it to a separate unit and you're relying on a QR code or barcode, which is totally separate. I mean, how is that validated in the beginning? How do you really know that what you're tallying is accurate? And then
Right.
you're scanning it. And in New York, what we got going on right now is hand paper. I scan it elsewhere and it gives me a red light or a green light and then says bye. All
Yeah.
right. How do I know I did a good job? Or if I erased it, how do I know you got it right? So these are the types of things that we've been thinking about and implementing. In addition, we do redundant memory through multiple file types, or it's going to snap an image of your election process. So at the time where you are ready to cast my vote or when you've printed the ballot, because once the ballot is printed, it becomes that verifiable document. You can go back at that time and void it, and it'll keep snapping so that we can follow the election process of a single individual without compromising their identity. And that's really neat. And that serves a purpose where if we need to do a reprint or a recount, or some data was lost or the electricity went out, things of that nature, we can go in 2 different places minimum and we can retrieve this data and we can reprint it.
Mm.
Furthermore, what we've been doing is we've been trying to assess convenience, because I think that's really what's going on here. Is a lot of people are trending toward the solution they think is viable, paper, whatever it might be, but really it's that they don't have enough information, specific information, this particular skill set, so they're trending with what people are saying. Paper is safe. I trust paper. Representatives saying I love paper and it's good to go. But in addition to that, if we start informing the public about amenities that provide this level of convenience, and I'll get to that in a minute, I think that we'll be better informed as voters to choose what we want instead of to trend, instead of to dictate something in black and white and have no variety, have no inclusion, the ability to choose within that, which I think is important. So some of the things that we've done is we've revamped the software where the election administrator can go in and instead of retrieving data individually and printing each ballot, they have a record tool. So now they can click it and in an instant it can reprint every ballot from the election. And that's really helpful for them. On the other side, for us users, I have a second business, which I'm transitioning from, but the purpose of that business for the past 5 years was to study the total population. And I'm referring to the uniquely able. So anyone from us who started out as we were and ended up with a limb or two, right? Or no sight, like my friend who I designed part of the vision impaired for, or people who were born uniquely able at whatever level of functioning, which could also be people who are poll workers and helping us assist with these hand counts. So what we did was I created a business that focused on fitness. I started developing their life skills. I met with them. We trained together, not with the purpose of working together, but just so that I could facilitate independence and I could figure out who these guys are. Because a lot of times they're our boys, our girls, kids, you know, they're our teammates. There's much prevalence running through, you know, us and everybody else externally, a lot of representatives, people in Congress, people within the state governments, they come to find that they have siblings with these sorts of unique abilities. And if we're not focused on how to reinforce them, how are these guys going to help stabilize our infrastructure when they got to get to work? It is a full-time commitment to take care of somebody, you know? So not to get too involved in other people's business, but instead to support everybody so that we come up together and we're at this point where we can make informed choice. So I dedicated those 5 years and I started learning, what do these guys really need? And if they want these jobs that they can have, because they can marry, they can have kids, they can drive cars. I was working with one who was a firefighter. We worked so hard that this gentleman from 19 years old, I think he's around 23 now, he was ready to give up his services and join the police force. And he could like press 1,000, he could bench 200. I mean, and he's my go-to guy. And he goes, you know what? I want to be a poll worker with you. I go, oh, well, isn't that perfect? You know? So we started developing these success stories and implications for what to do through fitness. And I was mentored very heavily, you know, through special forces, special operations guys. So their minds just work right, you know, and then I have the empathy because I took the time to learn that skill, and combined with that, it allowed me to revamp the software recently where these guys, I looked at the laws and then these guys ordered off the menu, and you wouldn't believe how much it differs, how independent they really are. They have the right amount of training, the right information. So the system is a combination of both. It falls within the scope of law, federal law, and it's ordered, it's customized for these individuals. And I'll give you an example. So when the user approaches, nobody has to request a special unit unless they would like to use the sip and puff method or a head tracker. So they'll put a little dot on and they follow with the camera.
Yep.
And then the sip and puff, if you don't know, they stick a straw in and they'll follow with that tracker, or if they want to, you know, use whatever mobility they have, and they blow or they sip in order to make a selection. And you can vote through. You can have a secret ballot that way, and that's really neat. For anybody else who would choose to either have a supportive person, which is legal, or if they wanted to do it themselves, they approach any unit. They're all accessible. And there's ballot settings at the top right corner. And you can touch that with your finger, and it comes up with all these ideas. Like I said, one of my closest friends, he used to carry me around San Diego because I couldn't walk and I wanted to hang out. And before he lost his sight, he would be my guy. He would be my legs, you know, and it made sure that I could have a little bit of a life because I was hospitalized for quite some time. And then he lost his sight. He got into a bike accident and smashed his face. And he was a guy that he even ran Ironman's blind. You know, he's that kind of guy. So I sat him down because his level of functioning is far, you know, exceeds anything we'd really understand. And I now have this range of speech rate that will actually narrate the ballot. So they can wear headphones and it'll narrate through, and they can left click, right click to proceed, and they can make their selections using having a secret ballot. And these things are really cool. And a couple other things are double spacing and background colors. You know, of some neurological conditions, they say that the lines get together, so we space them or we give them a yellow or blue background, whatever they're in the mood for. And we just designed this awesome system that I really think is going to pave way for a democracy that we're all familiar with. And that's the best way to move right now. You know, we might not know everybody in and out, and we're very trusting people, especially our population. And as much as we're trained to question everything, we have our arms open all the time. I mean, all the time. And we're going to step in front of whoever we need to, despite our value, you know? So the plan is taking a system that is this beautiful. It is so well thought and executed, and we put it into our democracy, and we start informing the total population for what it's supposed to look like. And then we're not going to get hung up at each election cycle. We're going to run through. It's going to be uncontested. Our candidates are never going to be bashing one another. They're just going to be amazing at whatever they're amazing at. They're going to be talking about all day, and we're going to start loving them. And it's going to create this form of cohesion that me and you are used to, you know, and we've trained. But the rest of the world and the rest of our country really deserve to, have a little bit of that. And that's sort of the purpose for Votrite. And I'm really excited. Yeah.
We can definitely tell you're excited. That's for sure. And what I've seen, we talked, in a meet and greet, and I was like, man, this is awesome. But a lot of people when they look into this, they're going to like, well, who do they serve? And like, what areas are you putting in the Votrite system? Because I know when I go do the election in 2024 or coming up in November, are you guys going to be in there for the presidential election, or do you guys just do like your unions, your corporations, colleges, and stuff like that?
So we're going for the presidential election, and for some reason I've been held back in a pretty creative way that I only recently started diving into. There's an op-ed that I released. You might be able to search for it, and it's somewhere along the lines of, why aren't there more investors, or what's missing with the ascent? And come to find that a lot of contracts that were renewed for the November election, they renewed them to the same companies that they had this falling out with publicly. And that's really questionable. And in addition to that, part of the reason why I had to transition from Scorpion Fitness Centers, which was my company, was because people started coming into the company and they didn't quite fit there. And, the more I asked the question, the harder the resistance became, and I started to realize I'm missing funding for something that is perfect and I need it on time. And now I'm looking at hindsight, because we're already in September and we need to be there in November. I was being pushed so that there was a time cost imposed on me and my company. And what we're looking for right now is investment, because if we secure investment, which is why I'm so grateful to be on here, by the way, if we get this exposure out and we secure investment, we can push through to this presidential election. And if not this one, we can guarantee a slate for the next one. And all we need to do is we need to move together. And so what I'm looking for right now, what we did was restructured our business, and we're almost ready to accept transactions, and we created a mini IPO. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow the voters, you, I, and anybody else interested, to own Votrite. And that's something that's never been heard of, because right now what we're dealing with are venture capitalists that are backing these other guys, and come to find that they happen to be foreign, and a lot of these connections are foreign. And what I learned, I did some testifying at Louisiana, and they really went in on Dominion. They have a similar structure to us, a DRE, direct reporting electronic, but we are different because we took care. We helped correct these sorts of issues that arose. But what the main issue was is they lacked customer service and commitment to follow through. So it was a simple issue, and they didn't even answer the phone on election day to send a tech guy to fix the problem. Now, they're still being funded, and they still have the contracts to proceed with this November's election. So what I'm saying in layman's terms is we're seeking investment, and we're going very hard. And that's probably where you can perceive my energy from, is the time is now. Absolutely, it is now. And we're looking for people who are competent enough to understand the American dream and make it a reality. Not just, rattle off, we're living the dream, but let's do it together. And all it requires is a little bit of care, between one another. What is preventing us from the presidential at this specific time is only 11 states are permitted to use a system without federal certification through the EAC. We received a letter that we are approved to proceed with EAC, and that cost is approximately, we're getting an updated quote, so don't quote me, but just so you understand, it's a little less than $1 million. And it's day by day. We're paid by their hourly output, that sort of deal. So we do require a little time for that. But if anybody does have a connection within the state level for these 11 states, Arizona included, then we may have an ability to, work with an engagement. And that's what I'm searching for. And that's why I value these podcast opportunities, because we just need to get the word out. And I think that's what's missing. Votrite it's going to be another vendor. I'm sure of it. I mean, there's so much work into it, and it works so well. And the amount of people that could use it that never thought they wanted to vote and all of a sudden can. We no longer need to choose Spanish or English. We can input any language that they want, so they can come up and they just push the button and they feel safe, and then they participate. And I believe that with enough exposure, we'll be funded, and then we're home free, because that's the reality in building businesses. Nobody builds it just by themselves. Nobody.
Right.
I was just reading an article about Apple, Steve Jobs, and Steve Jobs was about to terminate his Apple product It was 90 days and he was going to shut it down. Guess who saved him? Bill Gates, Microsoft, put in 150 million and saved him in the last quarter, his competitor. So, it's not necessarily Hail Mary because it's so well planned and it's going to be perfect for our country to begin with. And then the globe. It really has those types of implications. But we're just looking for somebody who also believes in us the way that we believe in ourselves and others. Because we met, we did that meet and greet before. There are a lot of future implications with Votrite, and it doesn't stop at elections.
Right.
I studied for so many years, and there are so many needs in this world. And even if we aren't the type of people that aren't needy, I myself have learned to identify those individuals, and Votrite success will provide for those. And it's got to be felt, and that's the phase that we're in. We're gonna get there, and then they're gonna see.
Yeah, I like the idea of, with the ADA compliance that you guys have, because there's a lot of people that go to a poll that, is either in wheelchair or they're visually blind. They don't know what they're doing on there, and that's where Vote Right comes into play and helps walk them through it. Like my stepdad, he was colorblind, and he always hated going to the poll because he said he had trouble figuring out what he was, circling in and stuff like that. So,
Well, I mean, even the older generation that aren't as tech savvy, right? It sounds like this simplifies that issue for them.
It's easier than texting. I mean, it's that easy. If you go on our website, www.votrite.com, you can see a couple of screenshots, and those buttons are huge, and you can miss. I understand some of these older guys that got a tremor going on. You can miss for a while and you'll still hit your mark, and then you guide through and you have all these review pages where you don't have to worry about a thing. You can click the button getting excited and you can go back anytime. And that's different from what they've got now. I talked to the Board of Elections and they said, man, it's really difficult for us to navigate back if we make an error. We have to uncheck, we have to click another 5 times just to get back to the page we were on. So we heard you, and to build a solution like this and for it not to be desired the way that, we would all think, the way that it's being described, we have to question those types of things, and we just have to keep pushing forward. We have to keep asking, And so I think what I did initially was I set it up and I said, I'm building this dream it's as good as it sounds. And that's the type of human being I am when it comes to business. And I'm going to let it go, and everybody's going to notice. They're going to understand. Well, I got to speak a little louder now. Now that we're in this final quarter, I realize that, and that's what you experience business, and then you move, you get it done. So it's an exciting process. So we just need the funding and we can proceed. We're ready to go. But for now, you guys might have the same outcome. I hope you do not, but we have to try to deal with that sort of thing.
So you're looking for somebody to come in and help invest in the company. Are you looking for like small corporations to come in and help invest? Or are you looking for like individuals to come in? What are you looking for?
So what I've established now with this mini IPO, we have to wait for the SEC approval to transact, but we can market. We can explain what it is for now. The mini IPO allows individuals that meet a certain criteria, and then there's a small pool. I think some of the buy-ins are as low as $10, things like that. So we'll have to look at the regulations in detail at the time, depending on who is interested. And you can buy in as an individual. You can be part of that. And what that's going to do is it's going to provide a level of transparency that nobody's heard of. They're not going to be worried anymore because it's all us that are participating, that are involved in the entire process of Vote Right. But that's more operational, right? And what we're looking for are investors, angel investors, which are single individuals, or we're looking for entities, agencies of any kind, small corporations that would just provide an incentive. They would write, that dollar amount, and we would apply it toward the federal certification, which is the whole shebang that we need. And then we move. A couple of competitors I was talking to at an expo, they told me candidly, they said, we were and they're the guys that swept it. I think these guys got about 23 states, the people I'm referring to. And initially, nobody would look at them, talk to them, nothing, until they bought in for about 3.5 to 5 million. Nobody cared. And that's wild to me. I mean, you wanted the solution, we prepare the solution, and we do this all the time. We create these medical, fantastic inventions, things of that nature, and then they're not put in circulation. Why? So I can't answer all the questions, but I can certainly ask them. And the more information that we all have, the more confident we're going to be in making informed choices, because it doesn't end at the president. And I think all of us got this tunnel vision over here, whether or not it was COVID or before. In my opinion, it was before, where they're so focused at, okay, I have one task. The president's coming up every 4 years. Let me get into it. Well, how about you inform yourself about how many different ways you can participate in the meantime? You have a lot of say in what goes on and who builds what and where they're going to place it. Who protects your kid and how educated they are, that type of stuff. And I think that that's where we need to center our thoughts. And we're going to start finding, I can contribute this way and I can contribute that amount, because that's how I started developing as a business entrepreneur after the success of Scorpion Fitness. And we had limited success in the private sector with Votrite for a long time. It's tried and tested with many, many local, union schools, that type of thing that you mentioned before. And we're ready to go. But it also gave me this perspective where, all right, if I'm this successful this way, how might I build success in somebody else? And I'm just looking for the same sort of reciprocity. We are a team, and the people should be involved, and they should desire a solution like this. And we just got to fund it, and then if it comes back, gentrification in the community, that type of thing.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean,
sure.
you talked about, the main focus for a lot of people is the presidency, and we recognized that here in Kentucky a couple of years ago when it came up for the governor vote and Secretary of State and all that. There was a certain issue on the ballot that almost everybody turned out for, and they hadn't seen voting like that in Kentucky for just the local state level voting because of the one issue that was there. And I'm like, how come you, and they don't even turn out that much for the president. I'm like, why? This
Right.
is the people that are supposed to represent you as the person, right, in DC, here in Frankfurt, or wherever it may be that you live. I mean, you need to focus on your community, even your city first, because they're the ones that report back to your capital, and then your representatives and your senators that are in the state level that are supposed to be representing you. I don't understand why more people don't let their voice be heard.
That's my point.
They just do that little go with the school of fish, and
They're trending,
away they go.
and that's socialist, if you ask me, and we're not them. And I think that the more we get the information out, nobody's going to be worried anymore. They're going to show up like they did for you in that special circumstance, and it's going to be the same way. We just have to figure out, and it's we have to do our jobs as human beings, as Americans, and we have to find a way to get that message through. Now's the time for your specific voice to be heard. What are you good at? What are you going to contribute? And then we put them in. So this is another opportunity for them to do that all year round, not just for the president.
Yeah. So what's the, if someone wants to be a poll worker with you with Votrite, is there a training that goes through that? Is it like a one-on-one? Is it a Zoom? Is it a online course?
So it's a one-on-one typically, or it'll be a small group, and typically it's in person, but we could absolutely do virtual. What I've been doing now, usually, so the special populations, only because I'm going to be in their lives forever, it was sort of the commitment I took for their parents. They might come work for me directly in that capacity, just so that they're covered, right? But anybody that wants to be a poll worker, what I'm doing right now for the state and federal governments is I'm serving as a third-party liaison, a mentor, so to speak. So I'm actually going to steer you first to your state government, and I'm going to have you apply to be a poll worker there. And then if you're interested in primarily functioning with me as well, because you should all be showing up for the presidential election in whatever capacity with whatever vendor. It's very important that we have enough manpower to sustain our democratic process. I mean, it's like the most important. But if you show that sort of commitment and you're interested, then you drop a line, you write to me, my first initial last name, AKAPSIS at Votrite, or info at Votrite, and you just tell me you're interested. And when we have an election in your area, because usually, we schedule with the client, we get a contract, and we'll fly to where they are for it to be convenient. You pick up a pretty nice day's pay and maybe a free meal, and you get some exposure, And if you're more interested, you want to travel, you can indicate that in an email, and I'll keep your name on a short list. But what I've been doing is I've been trying to get as many recruited as we can, because our local governments, they really need help. They don't have enough people.
Yeah,
and
I just heard yesterday that Louisville's like 200 people short for poll
that's
workers.
huge. And what they had that in Arizona, and I was looking at the lawsuit that was filed against some of these guys, and they were missing real protocols, real checks for this idea that they wanted paper. I mean, with paper, you need to have a two-person party. You have to have, verification signatures. And they found that many times they didn't have that. They didn't have that security. Now, at what point at what breach is it significant enough to state that, it is a failure, right? It is catastrophic outcome or not. And I don't think anybody has really taken the time to identify that sort of protocol here in the civilian sector with this sort of process. And those are some of the things that we can help work together to do if we start contributing. And the first step for a layperson that may not have the means to invest in Votrite or join, full time in what capacity they can opt to become a poll worker, get involved. And then I have a lot of education. I have a lot of experience and a lot of drive here. They can always email me and we can just get together and we can start talking and we can brainstorm what they can do. And then once we take off, once we have the funding, we put each other in, we're as a team, and I think that's the best method. You just need to achieve cohesion. We don't want to exclude anybody, but we really only want to include people that are informed to vote in these sorts of elections. And if there is adequate funding for Votrite, I've already established other ideas for people that may not ever have the capacity to be informed about the presidential election, but they want to vote. And I got the plan, and it's a detailed plan, and it's already been tried and tested at a small level. And, we're just ready to go. So we've got to make the dream a reality, and it's going to look way different. We're going to feel safe.
So I just put the correct email in there because I put an E in there, but it's actually no E. It's VOTRITE.com.
Yeah, and if you guys see it with the E, that's our initial, incorporated, but we do business as Votrite, the VOTRITE.
So you also have an app. Well, tell us about the app that they can download from the Apple Store.
So the app right now, we're using the web browser because we're doing a small update. So you can go to www.votritemobile.com. And what that's going to do, it's going to bring you to a voting page. And depending on which ballot we have activated, you'll see choices. And there's a demo also. So we can also send you a PIN code and you can vote through to play around with it as soon as this update is completed. And actually, I believe in the meantime, we can set up a regular primary example. We're setting up special things for other clients. And basically, that's an online version for a very similar experience. It is more straightforward. So it'll be something similar to ranking the Masked Singer. Have you ever seen that show?
Oh, yeah.
Whatever, it's America's Got Talent, whatever. If you got to go, press that button. It's simple like that. And more simple than any banking you do online, which all of us got accustomed to, whether or not we should have. And what you'll do with the app is you'll be given at the registration portal, which is a separate entity. Typically, it's the agency that contracts with us, the agency that you're voting within. So, for example, the union will have their own registration portal, and you'll be given a one-time PIN code. The PIN code could be as long or as short as the client chooses, and it's one time at the point where you cast your vote. So let's say that you have a 24-hour period to place your vote, and you have your PIN number, and you log in, and then the kids get wild, and you can't finish. You can exit out of there, and you still have an opportunity to go back in and finish it, and then you can press cast my vote, and it's all done. Does that make sense? And once it's finished, it populates on our administrative end in real time, so we can verify for audit purposes or to see, sometimes guys say, oh, I'm not sure if it glitched, did it go through? And we can check those processes, so it's also a safe and effective way to vote. Unfortunately,
you could report back to the company too. You're only at 80%, or you're at you got
we
the
can
good.
see
You're
how
at
many.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can do that by PIN number, and we can do a final count. A formal tally of what's going on cumulative. So it's just an opportunity for these guys to reach farther. We had an agency called Jack and Jill way back when. I'm not sure if you heard, but they're huge. And we also had the Olympic team at some point, and those guys are gigantic. And Jack and Jill was offered a hybrid opportunity. So some of their people, how you go to one of those locations every year and you switch it up for an annual meeting, that type of thing.
Yeah.
So they had one of those. It was so cool. But they had so many people. They had over 3,000 people. So they had in-person units where they came and approached, and the same guys, everybody else came up. They checked in at the registration. They took it on their phones, and they were voting. I think they had a regular election period, and then they had 68 propositions, which are questions, yes or no. So these guys were scrolling for a hot minute. I mean, for days, but it worked. It was perfect. It was effective, and they loved it. And that's the type of feedback that we really like. And when people start to build trust, the reason we designed Votrite the way we did with this paper and electronic and all these bells and whistles and all these, security features, audits, this, that, is because we really want to get to the point where we can start trusting this system. And people that can't get out of the house, they have trouble. Why should they have to leave the house? Because if somebody else is concerned that may be misinformed, maybe you got it right, maybe you don't. But in the future, we can start working together. We count the hand counted ballots. We match it to the electronic tally. We do spot checks in the audits. We have uncontested elections. We have trustworthy allies in our representative chain of command, and they're just going to do their job, and we're good to go, right? Well, then we can eliminate the paper, and we can start voting electronically. And that's when we can start building a system where we can access everybody. And that's a time where electronic mobile voting will come into play. I noticed something to keep in mind and question everything. I noticed that a lot of European mobile voting platforms are starting to reach America. And I'm wondering how, because I'm looking in the market, and I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm going for real estate and I'm part of networking and I'm doing all the things I should do right. Those are all swept by these former, vendors. They got the contracts for years. They're doing really well. And there are a few opportunities, but I've been witness to this huge push for mobile voting coming from Europe in America. And I just want to remind everybody, if we feel the way that we felt from COVID, from these 2 or 3 tours with presidential elections, everything was compromised, everything is rigged, we're freaking out, then we should really make informed choice for what type of vendor we want to use, where we want it to come from, And if we're willing to take a look at Europe, I mean, we haven't really been involved with Europe all that much. I mean, we understand them and all that stuff, but I don't know that we've ever considered doing that sort of relationship with our democracy together. Maybe you got to do a little research and then you choose what's best for you, and we were talking about, and a lot of them, they're doing something called open source code. Now that's a consideration, but I'm sure you guys have a little bit of coding knowledge. Open source code means that the code is visible to anybody. Yeah. And if the code is visible to anybody, couldn't somebody potentially counter every code?
Or compromise it.
Yeah,
they could probably compromise every part of the code if you are given, the secret. Yeah. So these are things to consider. Right now, Votrite is not open source. And I think that's really what it's about. So the online voting is a perfect opportunity. It's just not something that's written into law yet that affords us the opportunity to implement it. We can do it on the local level for now. And I was considering that, maybe when we get started, we can use it for generating demographics in terms of how many people require a certain language, or certain accommodation in that jurisdiction, and we could just have it ready so nobody's wasting their time.
And that's going to change.
And that'll be, and that's why we should use an online method. We don't have to we don't have to bother anybody's schedule, but you quickly just you order off a menu, so to speak, and Votrite will provide that. And those type of options, they're ready to go. They're available. So on the other side, just a reminder that we really need to do our research nowadays. If we don't want to feel the feelings that we felt for these past 5 years or so, 8 years, 12 for some people that were really paying attention, then we ought to make informed choices. We never have to feel excluded because somebody told us we don't have the capacity or the level of functioning or the information at the time to choose the president. That doesn't matter.
Yeah. So I'm going to play devil advocate real quick. What keeps somebody from voting in person with Votrite and then going and doing it on the mobile?
So if they
for the same election, I mean, whether it's the president, whether it's
so you say voting. What prevents them from entering 2 different polling stations?
Yeah, with the Votrite.
With the Votrite system. So the Votrite system cannot be connected to any internet because we have to minimize or eliminate the risk for hacking. So it's not an individual database. So that's a good question. So there are opportunities. The Votrite software is evolved way past what we are prepared for, and there are opportunities for us to alleviate these concerns. However, because the public right now is so, I don't want to use the word aggressive, but I'm just going to say that because I think we'll understand the context about whether or not identification is needed for registration, that it separates our ability to do that job with 100% accuracy. Right. We have the capacity to do it, and we've already tested it, and it works just fine. But let me give you an example. Also, I was talking to somebody, places in Hispanic nations, the other Americas, they're already implementing that. They're using biometrics to scan people in at a registration point, and then they're scanning you at the time you're voting. So I'm not understanding all this verbal output about compromising our identity when we want to be the ones voting. We don't want anybody else voting for us. And back when I was following my mom, she always used to take out her driver's license and, okay, that's the way you do it. Now I know. Well, now I don't know.
Just look at military members. We were raised, you don't ever share your social security number. How many times during your career did you just blurt it out?
Yeah. And if you're in trouble, what are you supposed to tell the stranger? Yeah.
And it's like, I don't know who that dude is, but I just gave you my social, and then they ask what your date of birth is, and you blurt that out loud too.
Yes.
So I mean, it's just
So
crazy. I mean,
to answer
if TSA can operate off the biometrics,
oh yes, they did.
why
I saw that.
can't? I mean, every time I go through my airport, because I have TSA pre, it's look in the camera, and sometimes I have to give them my ID or put the ID in, and sometimes it's just like look at the camera, click, okay, yeah, you're good. They already know what I look like.
Yes,
It's no different. I have zero issues providing this or this when I'm casting my personal vote at any level.
I agree. 100% agree. So what we do in that sort of circumstance, what we're actually, they even wrote into law to not allow the same software. And this is in a state, I forgot which state, but they prevented another vendor. I think it only applied to ES&S, who's a different competitor, because they had a registration software linked to the voting system, and they said it now has to be separated because of all this silly fighting. Okay, well, then in order to ensure that this works, the registration portal, Votrite offers that product. You have to customize the solution, but other registration vendors that don't have voting systems will be responsible for registration, and that will be online. So that'll be real-time updates through every polling station. And that's the way that we prevent, this sort of double voting at this time. If Votrite were in charge and, we could just decree a solution because we're 100% capable of doing that, it would be through the system. It would be through biometric scan, something similar to that. At the very least, an ID, and you sign in, and then you go vote. And if you're so worried about someone tracking your identity and which vote, then you sign in separately and you wait on that line and you are dispersed, right? You only call depending on how fast the other voter was. So there really shouldn't be any concern of, oh, that guy's going to track me and figure out who I voted for, which I'm not understanding. Why is everybody so, worried when it is a process that ensures a secret ballot as long as you follow protocols? And furthermore, I'm not sure that I would speak. I'm not going to speak for Votrite. I'll speak personally as Angelica, but there are a lot of considerations when it comes to implementing laws. And right now they're talking about whether or not illegal aliens can vote in our presidential election, this, that, and the third. And, I honestly, it was brought to my attention some feedback that the world ought to stay neutral about a circumstance like that, because many within our country are considering backing that. And I'll just leave it at that. And, that's what displaces our ability to run a solution a decade ago when it was ready to go. Those type of inquiries where we're not sure with that foundation and nobody knows what else to say. We're sort of left without words, so how do we proceed? Those are the type of things.
Yeah. The whole voting process is, changed drastically over the years. And I think Votrite is probably going to be the next step forward, because of, for one, the security that you guys have within your systems. Like you said, it's not connected to the internet, and I think you guys are going to be
enough.
yes, perfect enough. Yeah, I think you guys are going to be the next step. And you talk about your competitors that you have; they're going to have to step up their game to where you guys are, because I think you guys are going to be the future. You just need.
I'm sure they're already working on it.
Yeah,
especially the ones that are already in place that have these contracts. I'm sure they've got the 10-pound brains in there already trying to.
I believe it to a degree, but when you start hearing. I mean, they've used these same vendors for the past, I think it's 3 election cycles. And after the third one, if nobody's showing up to correct a mistake, all right, allow Votrite. I believe in neutrality. I'm only asking for a crumb, in the spectrum compared to the 1.3 bill, or whatever billion they might have made. But let's see where it goes.
Well, even if you guys start in, say they implement your system in New York for the presidential election, or
let's go Rhode Island, right?
Yeah, Rhode Island.
That's a smaller state, right, with a smaller population, and it's proven, right? It gets proven very successful. Then you expand.
That's exactly what I want. You have to just try it. That's it.
I mean, New York has a huge population of people. I mean, the city alone, I think, outweighs the rest. I mean, count the 5 boroughs, right? So let's do that. The 5 boroughs outweigh probably the rest of the state. But you go to a a Rhode Island that has a small population, even though Providence probably outweighs the rest of the state in Rhode Island, and it proves successful. Expand. Yeah. And why not expand? Why not allow it to expand? Why not be like, okay, you guys are good here. We're going to allow you to go into Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Connecticut, New England. And then it gets proven successful there with 0 issues. Then they go, okay, now we're going to bring you into New York where you're at, and
Yes.
you got to start somewhere, right?
You got to start somewhere. And fortunately, but unfortunately, there's a protocol for entry. There's a certain type of, exchange that needs to occur for us to be able to do that. So I hope that some of our representatives are listening, because they are capable of doing that. They really are. I already found conditions within New York State that would allow us to simultaneously perform while they, maintain with these vendors that they already paid. And let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, and I had a speech many years ago, and I was speaking to a lot of our representatives and senators that are in DC, and it was about post-traumatic stress, traumatic brain injury, the veteran suicide rate. And everybody's like, oh, it's time to raise awareness. I'm like, this was 2013, 2014. I'm like, the time to raise awareness is over with. There's been an issue for years. You already know, you're aware of the issue. Now's the time for action, and you have the opportunity and the ability to change what is currently in place.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's what needs to happen. The people that we elect to sit in the big seat or the little seats in the 2, the wings, or right here in our own state, have the ability to make that change.
Yes, they do.
I mean, I tried to pass, I'm mirrored here. So I tried to get a bill passed for this flag right here in the state of Kentucky. It's the honor member flag. It was started by a Gold Star dad out of Virginia. I want to say 28 states now have adopted that flag as the official flag of remembrance. I tried to get it passed in Kentucky 3 years in a row or 4 years in a row, unanimously passed the House. The Senate in Kentucky says, we're not looking at a flag bill right now. It's not about the flag. It's about the families that flag represents. There was 111 service members from Kentucky that were killed in armed conflict from Iraq and Afghanistan. There's 3,000, 5,000 plus if you date back all the way to World War I. And that flag represents every generation of every person that was killed, to include those that were killed in training. And our people that were sitting in the seats in the Senate of Kentucky are like, we're not looking at a flag bill. And some of them are some of them were service members.
That's crazy.
That's tough. I was going to say, maybe they don't have the exposure that might be required for that line of work, but that's really something else to hear.
I guarantee they all have the exposure, because they all represent a county or counties in Kentucky that lost service members.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure they've met Gold Star families. There's a Gold Star Memorial Monument on the grounds. Every time they walk out of the parking garage, there's a little wooden plaque that says, in memory of Gold Star families, or Gold Star family, something along those lines. So they are aware of the Gold Star families.
Yes.
And I preached that, and you can probably find every session that they did, to include me going and sitting in for the vote, or the House of Representatives did an actual video promoting this and asking others to
support it.
They're aware of it. They just didn't want to truly honor and remember the fallen service members. And that's my view of how I saw it.
And there's got to be a reason for that, because I know people who are involved in politics, and I'm facing the same adversity. I tried to amend writing. Instead of it saying using this type of machine, or we wanted it to say use this and/or, so we could be included.
Right.
And we lobbied it. We paid a magnificent amount of money for what we're able to pay, and they didn't even take a look at it. They looked at it once, and they put it on the list, and then they said, "We'll go for maybe LGBTQ or something rather."
They wouldn't even put that in like the veteran chamber for the Senate, to even have a vote of that small group of senators to look at and to hear what I had to say, or what a Gold Star family had to say.
I'm not understanding the disconnect between now LGBTQI. You have a right to choose And we used to have that don't ask, don't tell. Now we have the tell and accept idea, and whatever it might be. But I think that maybe these people, they've been burdened in a way that we've never before seen. The type of things that they're so focused on are misaligned with, purposeful achievements that we need on time, including representing Gold Star families or the people that are going to get up and maybe not come home that day so that you could go to work and you could relax, And I don't understand the underlying foundation for that, but I think about it every day because I'm a behaviorist. So I purposely learn these things. I myself, some of us, we have to get over our circumstance. I'm sure, you had a TBI and then you had to fight while you're in surgery for 100% rating. I mean, that's wild,
Yeah, two TBIs and 44 surgeries.
But we're still concerned with a sexual orientation or a gender orientation that we've always accepted to some degree, at least where I'm from. We were never really given a choice. Not that we needed it because we were trained that way. New Yorkers, I'm sure you understand, where the Lone Star is the Lone Star, and then New York is New York. I mean,
New
York is and we're the type where we just move quick and we understand one another and whatever it might be, but. What are they thinking? That they're going to keep hitting the dead horse that they already provided for? Now we're worried about illegal aliens and other things, and we're not focusing on a voting technology or the people that are serving to protect us so that we could walk to wherever we want to at that time during the election cycle.
Well, and the Kentucky claims to be a veteran-friendly state, and they passed a bunch of laws for spouses to transfer their dental hygienist or medical stuff or whatever. And I'm like, you're a veteran-friendly state as long as that veteran's alive and spending money here or living here.
Yeah.
But you got all the families that still live here in Kentucky that still participate in the commerce and everything else, and it's not good enough to honor their loved one sacrifice. I lost it. I lost my friggin' mind when they told me we're not passing the flag bill.
I understand. I really do. And
I lost 25 guys between 05 and 06.
Really?
And then I say that 26 guys, because another guy that I served on recruiting duty with, his unit replaced my unit, and he was killed, not too far from the blast that really sent me home back to the States. And then I lost another guy that I served with years later. So I've lost 25 guys that I say guys because I was an infantry person,
I say guys too, because we come from Germanic, English, American language, and we always speak that way. So I'm not sure what changed, but
Yeah, so I lost 27 guys during my time of service in Iraq and Afghanistan. And then I can't tell you how many here to the battle at home.
Yeah,
but it's not that's not good enough for that flag. Yes.
There's something going on. There's something going on where there seems to be a social trend, a social form of influence, like I mentioned. And I did not mean to identify a source. I only meant it as if we're feeling that the social media can move us, then that would be something of a socialist movement, wouldn't it? By definition. I mean, you wouldn't understand the amount of times that I've been addressed that maybe I should adjust my language to reflect a democratic republic rather than a democracy. But I remember growing up, I'm positive, I only grew up in America, and I only learned the word democracy the whole time. I never adapted it for republic, because republic, according to the map, is a republic of China, and I don't know where republic might fall in, and I did my research. I learned these sorts of things. I mean, the things you would Google back in the day, there was an article put out. I was Googling things, and I was Googling what types of governments were all around the world. I was just trying to learn, for relations and stuff like that. And the things I Googled before 2013 are not the same as what's appearing on the map now. And then there was an article pushed out that there might be a reason for that people are maybe deleting history and altering data. So
it's being proven here in the United States. They're taking down statues of Confederate.
Can you imagine if you have a TBI, but you're still authorized to participate, and you just memorized all that data to keep your men safe and to, allocate resources to a location, and we have to change the name? What are you going to do? You're going to go, you're going to ghost the line if we speak.
I left for recruiting duty in 2001, and I came back in 2004 to the infantry. The verbiage in those 3 years had changed, and I fell in my unit in a combat situation down in Haiti, and they're talking Sasso. I'm like, what are you talking about, Sasso? What's this Sasso you're talking about? And they explain it to me. I'm like, oh, that's Mount. It's the same thing. They just changed the verbiage because there's different entities to it, but it's the same exact thing that I knew for 3.5 years as an infantryman.
Yep.
And I'm like, what officer got a NAM for changing the name of this? This is stupid. It's the same thing. And I had to learn with pre-TBI how to re-communicate with my Marines coming off recruiting duty, because as a B-billet, you're not keeping up with what's going on in the active roles of your service. And it's hard to, because you're every single day trying to find qualified young men and women to fill your spot one day.
Yeah,
I understand that. I do. And it's just what I think about when I generalize that idea is you're seeing a lot of people that agreed to these changes being retained in these government positions. And those are your lawmakers that unfortunately I feel you might be, running into that. They must have not been briefed on what the foundation of a democracy is if they can't even agree on what type of structure we have or how to provide for it. And then is everybody feeling fear, or is there a foundation to support these changes? These changes to which identities are eligible for what? I was just told that HIV positive can now join the Navy, but I keep coming back because I train so many guys. Some have diabetes 1. Diabetes 1 is out. HIV positive is in. And then I was briefed a couple times by some of these federal workers, and they're cool guys, and they've been out for quite some time. And then they're getting bills that are requesting them to pay money back from on-duty tour.
Yeah.
That somebody went through their books and decided that they owed money back after that type of service, combat veterans, this, that, and the third. And they took, I believe the new news, $200 billion from veterans on compensation ratings that they removed from them over a period of time. Now, when you're looking at an equation, if you are inclined to consider, which all of you are following protocols to objectives, people that are satisfying these requirements of who knows, that appear socially influenced, right? They're believing this one guy, he was a Department of he was Department of Safety, and he helped build an airport. This guy, I served with at TAPS Arlington, which is for Gold Star families, the kids, we go and train them. This guy told me that he didn't believe that computers couldn't be compromised because of TikTok, and he was establishing security safety measures at the airports, and he was a trusted human being. And you start to think about, well, who are we dealing with now? And are we free to speak about, these certain topics? And what do we do? Is there a contingency plan from any avenue? Who do we say these things to? Because if they're being retained and they're making these mistakes and they're staying in this position, and then they're taking the hit, they're taking the punishment imposed on them by somebody else that's recently in the government that comes from not America, typically, that's finding us in this way. What's going on? What type of deficit could be there from a person that trains it professionally? And I haven't seen this in many people that are uniquely able, that are remedial below a normal level of functioning. They don't act that way. They understand the information that's taught to them. So what are we missing? And I think that we have to choose. I think that you should never give up on your objective of continuing that. But I think that just like we make informed choice whether or not we're suitable for the presidential election or a more local election or the Masked Singer, which is cool enough, you're pressing the button and you're contributing to it, that's okay. And the same thing, I think we should, take a minute and find a representative. Some of them are going to go hard for us. Some of them are still there. I noticed sitting there in testimonies that I watch, people will be talking, our representatives. The guy sitting next to him says, in our democracy. The lady says, in our democratic republic, in our democracy. Some of our guys must be still there, and you may have the choice. You might say, hey, we are a democratic republic. Okay, then find your representative to assist you to achieve your outcome. But we never give up and we never quit,
Yeah, definitely. Well, Miss Angelica, did we miss anything that you want to touch on before we let you go?
No, but if you are interested, we're really interested in getting this ball rolling. So please send me an email, even if we're not getting into it just this moment, because we need a couple months. We're really searching for that funding, and we're going to move. Just put your name on the list, or tell me what you'd like to hear more about. Maybe we can talk, or we could figure it out together.
There you go. Her email's right there on the screen right now. It's also in chat. So if you are interested in reaching out to her, reach out to her there, or you can do info@votrite.com as well. Miss Angelica, it was a pleasure talking to you. I can't wait to see I can't wait to see what's going on in the future with Votrite. And are you still going to keep doing the Scorpion centers as well?
No, I'm transitioning. So I found this professional wrestler because I was really into the Make a Wish and I couldn't access them directly. And then the universe happened upon me and I met this guy. And so I'm giving the business to him because he's just so cool and he's good with these kids. And I'm going to serve, in some consulting or management capacity there, but I won't take ownership over that business. So
Oh,
this way I
nice.
could focus on Votrite. It's very important now that we've established, what we need.
Well, who's the wrestler? I might know him.
So he's called the Big O, and you must put in the Big O on the internet, or you're going to come up with a very different image. But his name is
Right.
Adam O'Reiner, and he's a wonderful human being. And I'll post some stuff on social media when we get into it. So it's going to be called Ozone Wellness. So you could still find me through those means, and I'm happy to be involved. Let's say that any of you all have friends who have kids who are displaced, or you're looking for a budget because the state offers budgets. They offer you money to live, for utilities, for rent, and for activities like us, fitness. And we really did wonderful progress with these guys, and I think that we can do the same for our guys everywhere eventually.
Yeah.
So you can reach out to me for that too.
I love it. I love it. Well, Miss Angelica, thank you for coming on. It was a pleasure talking to you again, and I can't wait to see where we go from here.
Absolutely. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yeah, thank you for your energy, your passion, man. It's so
you keep
awesome.
doing what you're doing. I'm not going to forget either. You keep
Awesome.
running.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll
Yes,
find
ma'am.
it.
We will do. All right, bye. How cool was that, Mr. Sam?
Oh man, I tell you, I'm sold.
I know, right?
I mean, just reading on the webpage the levels of security they have compared to certain systems that are out there right now, and being able to print off the report right then and there, or look at the report, or even to be able to be like, ooh, that's not who I wanted to pick. Let me repick another one without having to call a poll worker over and saying, hey, I need to change this.
Right.
Just so many things that I feel as though are good with that system. And, she's already proven it on some of the lower levels. I'd like to see what can happen here on even if it was a state election, even if they can't get in on this presidential election, just to see, how everything goes and works. And like I said, her energy is unmatched by anybody I've met here in the recent. Sure.
Yeah. Her energy, man. Like when I met her on that meet and greet, I was like, holy cow, this lady is balls to the wall. I didn't know any other way to say that, but balls to the wall.
Yeah.
And she's very passionate about it, and then, she was telling, about her fitness centers that she does for people with other abilities. I'm not going to say disabilities, but other abilities,
but unique abilities. I think how she words it, which is, I mean, I've never heard it that way before, which is, I like that. Yeah.
And and she's like, man, these are my guys, and and she's brought them in to help her, run this business and stuff like that, and it just it blows my mind because like I had Travis Overstreet on with Beyond Boundaries out of Virginia, and they used the word other abilities,
right?
And she's using unique abilities, and and so for so long, so many people are like, oh, people are disabled disabilities. It's not the case. There's high function autism people out there, Down syndrome people that are holding down a job, getting married.
Oh, not only that. I mean, you look at me, and I can't play soccer anymore to the level I played before. I can't strap on skates. I can't strap on skis, but I do have other abilities that allow me to do other things like run my mouth. The Marine Corps spent a lot of money on me to teach me how to properly talk in front of people and sound intelligent about what I'm saying. Right. That ability's still there for now, so it's just, man, I wish we had more passionate people about our country like her.
Oh,
and, and just looking and even though she's leaving the Scorpion Fitness Center, I mean, she was a NASM personal trainer. She had ACE certified personal trainers. I mean, that's $1,000 to go through an ACE course to get certified, and I don't even want to know what the National Academy of Sports Medicine courses are to get NASM certified. Not at all.
Probably quite a bit. Probably
That'd be
quite
my
a bit.
guess. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
not only that, not even the money, just the amount of time you have to spend. And I think I was looking just here locally to see what it was going to be for me to get ACE certified. And it's a pretty in-depth course over at the university. And it's like,
Mm,
it's not like it's, I can take this online and cheat the system. And you're involved.
yeah. Now you just recently got your certification through uh, Soldiers of the Sidelines, right?
Yeah, so I did a football coaching's certification, and I also did the sports performance certification. Sports performance slash strength and conditioning, but it was more than strength and conditioning. I mean that program that they're doing over there, and the coaches that are involved, and the trainers that they have that are teaching the courses, and their partnerships with different sports teams. On the football side, with they got a partnership with the Jets, and there's guys out there there's a guy. Matter of fact, the linebacker coach out at UCLA is a former Marine officer that went through not my football coach's certification course, but another one prior, and he's the linebacker coach at UCLA now.
That's awesome.
So I mean, they will give you the information that helps you open the doors, whether you're starting here at the Pee Wee League or again trying to get to the NCAA or eventually the NFL. But you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, Harrison, the founder.
Yeah, Harrison Bernstein's great.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about energy? That dude always comes with the energy. Every time he's on, he usually kicks off every training segment. And I think we did 3 days or 4 days. I can't remember. It's been, I don't know, almost a year, I think. But yeah, that dude's he's a ball of energy too.
Yeah.
And, he was a pro level coach with a couple different teams. And he talks about it in some of the training sessions. And I've got his book here somewhere, The Everyday Coach, that, once you get certified, you get a red whistle to, remind you to earn your whistle every day as a coach, and, continue to learn. And then Harrison's book, and then they send you a white polo with that stuff with the Soldier Sideline logo on it. And I was so excited. I thought I was going to be going out to UCLA, and I was going to hook up with the linebacker coach, because we jump UCLA once a year,
Nice.
But I'm needed elsewhere. So that's coming up this coming weekend.
Well, the good thing is UCLA is now part of the ACC.
No, they're in the Big Ten.
No, they're Big
part of
Ten.
the Big Ten.
It's Cal that came to.
Yep.
Dang, I was going to say, if they were UCLA was in ACC, then they'd come to Louisville every year or every other year. But it's Cal that, yeah. But anyway, yeah. And then, did you ever look into that battlefields to the ball fields?
I did it, man. I'm not looking at doing anything right now. I'm coming up on my 10th year with Team Fast Tracks, and I'm still having fun. It's not a job. It's not over labor intensive. Just like last weekend, we had, I think, 6 jumps scheduled this past weekend, Friday and Saturday. And I took the weekend off, man. I went to recoup for me. I went and did some reset stuff for me. I went crappie fishing for a couple days. We did the parade. We went to the honor field, or the honor field, the healing field in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. And, they have a flagpole for every service member that was killed post 9/11, to include those that were killed in training. So there's 120 flagpoles there. And at the base of each flagpole, there's a brick that has that person's name, branch of service, and I think the city or county they were from. And then attached to that bricks that suspended on a holder, a brick holder. And then attached to that is a set of dog tags that has their last name, the age they were when they passed, their first name, their middle initial, their branch of service, their date of death, and then where they passed. And I learned from this from a buddy of mine who learned from a Gold Star dad, and man, just standing there, knowing what those flags represented, and two of those guys, one I directly put in the Marine Corps, one came through our office, and then through the skydive team, I've met families of many others that those flags represent. And it's just, I mean, it's, everybody says, there's a cost of freedom, there's a price of freedom. There is. And unfortunately it's the blood, sweat, and tears of those that served in those Gold Star families. And you truly understand that flag waves by that, service member's last breath. When you're there, and they've got a brick cross. It's a rock base under the entire thing, but they've got a cross that's made out of tan brick. So you've got great gray rock with that tan cross, and it stands out. And it's so meaningful to me, and to be able to go down there and pay my respects to those families that the flags represent, and the guys that those flags represents.
Yeah, I've heard about it. I just haven't had a chance to get up to Lawrenceburg and see that up there. But one of these days I'll be able to get up there. Yeah, it's crazy.
Is that Adams County?
What, Lawrenceburg?
Yeah.
I don't know what county.
I can't remember. But anyway, and in front of the healing field, there's a wall of honor, and it's service members from that whatever county that is. And it's a huge brick wall, and there's a black plate with their name and dates of service, and I think their branch of service on it. I mean, it's pretty moving. I mean, I posted it on my Facebook, so you can go check that out there, and some of the photos. And
yeah, I'm trying to pull it up now. Healing field, 119 flag poles, located on Anderson Post 34 grounds, part of Lawrenceburg City Park. Rest as a living tribute to Kentucky servicemen and women who have fallen in the war of terrorism. The first ever permanent healing field will fly as a patriotic tribute to the strength and unity of all Americans, and as a healing memorial to families of these fallen heroes. The current field contains 119 flag poles, flags, and memorial plaques, each representing a Kentucky soldier who has given their life to protect our freedom. This display is for all and open year round for all who wish to honor our fallen. So let's see if I can bring up these pictures, just because I think it's pretty neat.
Yeah, I mean, the wind was blowing yesterday when we were there, and you can hear the dog tags clanging on the.
There we go. Let's do full screen there.
Yeah. So you can see in that one picture at that bottom left there, you can actually make out the cross a little bit. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, that one there. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. Yeah, you can make out the cross. Yeah, I see it there.
And then over to the left of the flags, they actually have kind of like almost like a directory of names. And you see that black thing that's right there towards the base, that's the brick that has the person's name on it.
Oh, right there.
Yeah. And then the dog tags are draped over that bracket behind the brick.
Let me see if I can get a closer view of it. It looks like just those two pictures. Trying to see if there was a closer view of it. Let's see, photos and videos, maybe. No,
that's the tourism page, I think.
Yeah, there's that. It's Soldier's Cross. So here's an over.
Yeah, that's the. I mean, obviously, I don't have a drone. I didn't have a drone, so I can't get that view. But
yeah, that's pretty neat.
And there was a guy there that was taking the trash bins and picking up the grounds a little bit, and he said that they replace those flags every 3 months.
Every 3 months?
Because they fly 24 hours a day. And he says there are some, like on that front edge, that catch the wind more, or one of the edges, right where the wind's coming, that they have to replace a little bit more often than that.
Huh.
And right now, it's the Legion is the one that maintains it.
Yeah, because it's on their property.
Yeah. So
From
there's
what I
no
can
state funding
see.
or anything for that. It's all funded through the American Legion.
Yeah, I was trying to see if I can find a picture of the brick at the bottom, but I'm not seeing it. I see other pictures, but not of the brick itself.
Correct. Yeah.
I'll have to go look into that for sure. For sure.
Yeah, I mean, we went fishing, which was great, and I helped. We built the friendships we had with the guys that I've hung out with for the past few years, and that's fun. But going over there, that was probably the most meaningful part of my weekend. Was go over there and pay my respects to them and the families.
I bet. I bet. So tomorrow, we got Mr. Garrett Biss. I don't. He's I want to say he was a major in the Marine Corps. Oh, let's see. He's a speaker. So overview. Let's see. So Garrett Biss, veteran, TEDx speaker, award-winning author, and respected thought leader in the addiction recovery industry. He is a retired major. And he does a little bit of everything. He goes into he's got a nonprofit that goes into third world countries and helps provide clean drinking water to third world countries. This guy, he's got a couple books out. He does a little bit of everything. So we got him coming on tomorrow.
Yeah, I got to jump tomorrow. We're jumping, I think, for the Green Beret Foundation.
Nice.
In Cincinnati. So we've got to jump there, and then I take off to an air show on Friday.
Heck yeah, you're busy. You'll be slowing down.
Tis the season, man. I think I'm gone almost every weekend from here to the end of the year now.
Holy cow!
Yeah, but I am taking that personal trip to Hawaii with the wife to celebrate our 20th anniversary. So it's just her and I, and
just
I'm not going to post anything until I get back, because I just want to enjoy that time with her. I'm going to try to unplug as much as possible. But when I get back, we've got Mogadishu Mile 2024, and we've got a dinner the night before, a silent auction, a live auction. And then the memorial event the next day. So we're pumped up. We changed the course a little bit this year, changed some exercises. Hopefully the weather holds and we have a good turnout. So
how many teams you guys got this year?
I don't know. I've not really looked. Hopefully we don't go over 50, just because it's a long day for us. I'd love to see 100 teams. I'd love to see us go to max capacity. But we went from, I think, 12 teams to 20 teams to 32 teams last year. I don't want to go from 32 to 100.
No,
but we did. Like I said, we changed it up a little bit, so we don't need as much support staff as we've had in the past. But again, I would love to see 100 teams show up, because all the funds raised that come in, even though it's a Memorial Fitness event, the funds that are raised get split between the Three Ranger Foundation and Blue Skies for the Good Guys and Gals Warrior Foundation, to support a Gold Star family for Team Fast Track's Warrior Weekend to Remember. So it's first and foremost, so it's a memorial event to memorialize the guys that were killed during the Battle of Mogadishu and those that passed the following days from October 3rd, 1983. Or 93, sorry.
No, you're good. I was just at a wedding the other day, and the guy who was getting married actually was in Mogadishu during Somalia during Operation Gothic Serpent, and 3 of the guys that were in his unit came to his wedding, and he hadn't seen them in 30 years.
Yeah.
Since then. And dude, you're talking about a reunion, and then just sitting there and listening to them tell the stories of what they went through during that battle. 17 hours of hell, and the friends that they talked about that they lost, and
it's all different perspectives, right? Because we talked about earlier, my story, my life events, the night I got blown up is different than my machine gunner. Yeah, it's different than the the driver of the Humvee is different than my medic, right? And we were all within 20, 30 feet of each other.
Yeah, it's crazy. It is definitely crazy. But now, Sam, I want to thank you for coming on here and hanging out with me. And while we talked to Miss Angelica Kapsis with Votrite,
Steven.
you guys can go check her out. You can email her. You can go check out at votrite.com, which is right there up on the screen. Go check them out. We're trying to get they're trying to get Votrite into all the states so that the balloting for whatever balloting you're doing, whether it's on state level, federal level, unions, colleges, whatever, they have a proven system that is working, and it's 100% accurate. So definitely go check out Votrite. Mr. Sam, thank you again for coming on here and hanging out with me. I know it was kind of a short notice.
Available. I'll jump on. You caught me as I got home from this past weekend, so it was a good deal.
Perfect timing. It was meant to be.
Me from the 25th to the 2nd because
I got it blocked off.
I won't answer.
I got it blocked off, my friend. I'm not going to bother you.
Maybe because there is a good time difference. So maybe at lunchtime I'll tune in to the Sunday show or the Monday show and make a quick pop-in appearance for you.
See, I'm going to go ahead and say this now. If you're in vacation with your wife in Hawaii, don't jump on. Catch it later, because I don't want April coming down here and kicking my butt.
Well, it depends. When's Sacred Mountain coming on? When's Jared coming on?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because if it's that weekend, I'll pop in for a quick minute just to say hi to Jared and then I'll log off.
Sacred Mountain is the 15th, October 15th.
Oh yeah, so I'll be. Is that a Monday?
No, it's Sunday.
Oh, I might not be anywhere that week.
That's next weekend, next Sunday. So yeah, and then we got Lehman Charlie on Lehman Charlie show on Monday. So
the 15th of this month, not October. This month. I'll be driving back from New Jersey. We got an air show out there, so I'll be driving. I'll tune in. I won't be able to talk because I'll be doing some driving unless I buy me one of them fandangled, mounts that you can see my pretty face as I'm driving.
Hey, I got one of those fandangled mounts. But
Willis, I appreciate it, man.
I appreciate you coming on, brother.
Yeah, I know you're looking forward to having Candace back because I'm not as good looking and I don't ask as many as inquisitive and intelligent questions as she does.
No, you handled yourself pretty well on here. I can't wait for you to decide to jump on full time with us.
I'm just glad you sent me some info so I could do some research to find out, who Angelica was and what she's been doing and what she did in the past. I spent like an hour researching her just for the I got my notebook full of notes and everything.
Yep. So. I guarantee it. So we started recording our meet and greets because if I don't write it down, I forget shit. So I started recording my meet and greets so I can go back and watch the meet and greets now. So once you decide to jump on full time, I'll be able to send those meet and greets to you. So, but anywho, it's
maybe when I start if I decide to only go 2 to 3 events a month with the team and just take more time for me and the family. Maybe I'll dedicate like a Sundays. There you go.
I'm waiting.
I mean, maybe Monday. I don't travel as much on Mondays as I do Sundays, so we'll see.
There you go. We'll figure it out. We might even throw you on Tuesday, Thursday. Who knows?
Usually Thursday is a travel day.
I know, right? Yeah. But it's that time, Sam. It's time to get out of here. And like we always say on HomeFront Sitrep, stay safe out there. We got
your 6.
Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed the show.
Suggestions and comments are always welcome.
Cannot wait to have another great show with y'all.
Don't forget you can find HomeFront Sitrep on Apple, Amazon, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcast.
Stay safe out there. I got your 6.